Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jaja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulunding. We are also producers of Jaja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. Gash, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. Gash Group also provides the best security company, Gash Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. Gash Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact Gash on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at Gash Global Group on Battle Harden Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.gashglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash.
Sophie Milk ñu ngi fété juróom benn ati cafka bu dul dañ ñoo leen indil Jalika full cream milk powder neex saf sàpp te bari cafka pour di leen jërëjëfati si ni ngeen defee Sophie Milk seen favorite milk brand léegi mun ngeen a jëfandikoo empty Jalika milk sachets wala carton pour gagner ay xéewal yu riche. Pour gagner motorbike dajaleel fukk ak juróomi empty carton yi Jalika milk pour gagner yeneen xéewal yu mel ni PlayStation 4, TV, fridge freezer, gas cooker, bicycle wala mobile phone. dajaleel fukk ak juróomi empty Jalika milk sachets def leen si biir envelope binda si sa tur ak sa téléphone number. mun ngeen koo yóbbu si bépp Jalika milk agent bu leen gën a jege. pour xam bi si raful yi dem leen Jalika milk Facebook page. Jalika milk mooy meew bu ees bu leen so fi indil gën a neex saf sàpp te riche.
Welcome to our studios here in Serekunda. This is Star TV News and I am Jacqueline Coley. In headlines tonight, President Adama Barrow addresses nation as impact assessment of deadly windstorm continues. President Barrow strengthens NDMA's response capacity after Wednesday's destructive storm. Windstorm induced loss of lives and properties saddens NPP. Gambia National Media and Policy Forum 2021 launch. GFF expresses fear over integrity of voter registration. On the international scene, rockets fired at U.S. Embassy in Iraq after series of attacks. Haiti's President Jovenel Moïse assassinated, police kills 4 suspects. South Sudan celebrates 10 years of independence, but few rejoice. Those were the headlines and now the news in detail. The Gambian President Adama Barrow has been speaking about the Wednesday's macabre storm that killed 10 and left in its wake colossal damage to properties. Let's take a listen.
Fellow Gambians and residents, these are challenging times for us as a nation. As a predominant farming country, we always look forward to the rainy season with excitement. However, we are also conscious that the season may come with some natural disasters. As the rainy season starts this year, we are beginning to experience such unfortunate calamities. Last Wednesday night's thunderstorm, accompanied by lightning and heavy winds that downed electric poles, destroyed buildings, uprooted trees, and littered our streets and communities with debris. Above all, it is most regrettable that our report recorded 10 deaths across the country due to the storm. On behalf of the government and the entire nation, I commiserate with all those affected directly or indirectly. In particular, I extend heartfelt condolences to the bereaved families for the sad loss of lives. And I pray for solace for those who suffered damage to property. In the same vein, I pray for the speedy recovery of all those injured and their loved ones who perished in the storm to rest in eternal peace. I wish to inform all citizens and residents of the country that my government is fully aware of the scale of the damage caused by this natural tragedy. We have since taken immediate steps to redress the situation. Working with the National Disaster Agency, NDMA, and the relevant line institutions, the government has activated the country's emergency preparedness and response plan. The National Disaster Management Agency staff deployed around the country are working tirelessly to assess the full extent of the damage, and they are instituting measures to mitigate the effect of this natural disaster. Based on an NDMA preliminary assessment report, the storm destroyed property worth millions of dollars and injured many people, apart from claiming 10 lives. I appeal to all citizens and residents, all corporate bodies, and our development partners to work with the NDMA on disaster risk mechanisms and support the victims. Fellow Gambians, agriculture is vital for our food security and survival. At the same time, we also benefit from it for subsistence. Therefore, I will seize this opportunity, as I always do, to call on the youth and the able-bodied citizens to engage in agriculture as a business venture. It is also worth noting that we can improve environmental sanitation by maintaining waterways clear of debris and garbage. My government will urge the Department of Physical Planning to learn lessons from the poor planning of all settlements, and in the future plan new communities better, taking account of waterways and proper drainage systems. In conclusion, I reiterate my call for support and solidarity with the victims of the storm as they rebuild their lives and livelihoods. I thank you for your kind attention.
President Adama Barrow has rapidly responded to the deadly Wednesday night storm by donating vehicles to the National Disaster Management Agency to bolster its response capacity.
To strengthen the response capacity of NDMA, the President has already donated 3 pickups to NDMA this morning, just to strengthen our capacity. Because we cannot collect all this data if we are not mobile, if we don't have the right mobility to do it. In addition to that, he also donated another six motorcycles, just to strengthen the response capacity of the institution.
The National People's Party, NPP, is also sharing in the sadness of the shocking windstorm-induced loss of lives and wind-spread damage to properties. There is currently an outpouring of messages of condolences and solidarity for the thousands of victims of the Wednesday night deadly windstorm. The NPP said it's saddened by news of deaths and extensive damage to property. The party conveys its deepest condolences to the bereaved families and prayed for Allah's mercy on the departed souls. NPP also welcomed President Adama Barrow's immediate action for the assessment of the extent of the destruction, whilst instructing the country's disaster management agency to render immediate food and shelter reliefs to the affected families. The party is appealing to all Gambians to extend support to those affected by the storm with the beginning of the rainy season when families are busy on the farms. The National Median Policy Forum 2021 of the Department of Strategic Policy and Delivery at the Office of the President was launched on Thursday at the Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara Conference Center in Bijilo. The Policy Forum seeks to encourage research on policy implications to serve as a foundation for informed decisions when formulating new or revising old policies in all sectors. Kadayatu Danso reports.
The lunch was, among others, witnessed by cabinet ministers, top government officials, and representatives of partner institutions. The Policy Forum is acting upon and in response to the National Development Plan's Critical Enabler 7 in strengthening evidence-based policy planning and decision-making. The Director General of the Department of Strategic Policy and Delivery at the Office of the President, Professor Jennifer Ka, described the forum as timely. Professor Ka underlined that the Gambia needs smart and courageous policy on climate change, environment, disaster recovery management, among others. She expressed optimism that the Policy Forum will set a new dimension on how Gambians think about policy, considering the evidence of dialogue impact. Professor Kass said the forum will usher in an integrating multiple objectives of diverse sectors to reprioritize and rebuild ecosystems and value chains in boosting the country's economy.
We hope we can collectively achieve more effective, efficient, responsive, agile, smart, and inclusive evidence-based policy regimes which are swiftly implementable, measured, aligned, monitored for optimal impact and value creation. We also hope this will reset policy design, formulation, implementation, and bring about change in mindset with approaches that are data and evidence-driven, systemic, integrative, and factoring alignments leading to process innovations for optimization of our service delivery, thereby ushering higher performance in government and our broader socio-economic ecosystems.
The permanent secretary at the Office of the President, Abdoulaye Jara, was confident that the policy will enhance socio-economic discourse on public policy making as he talked about expectations.
I sincerely hope that this session will be enriching and will help inform government policy making and new policy formulation and will highlight implications of public policy making. The Office of the Secretary General and Head of the Civil Service recognizes the value that evidence-based policy has on our government laws and regulation. We are committed to the continuous use of evidence-based policy as a strategy planning instrument to enhance coherence for effective decision-making in government.
The Vice President, Dr. Aissatou Touré, said the Policy Forum was historic as the idea is to bridge the gap between research and policy. The Vice President renewed government's commitment to nurturing continuous engagement on the policy.
Notwithstanding the above laudable efforts, within the broader context of providing more rigorous research relevant to policy, the idea of the Policy Forum was born to ensure government benefits from the pool of knowledge outside the department. As such, a policy forum was first planned for 2020, but postponed due to COVID. Today, we launched the maiden edition of the forum. This forum, among others, aims to improve the accessibility of relevant research to ensure public policy is based on sound evidence.
Reporting for Star TV News, I am Khadijatu Danso.
Presidential hopeful Bakari Bunjadabo has said the GFF has fears for the integrity of the eventual outcome of the ongoing voter registrations. Adam Majangjalo files in this report.
The former vice president said Gambia for All condemns any scheme devised to manipulate the registration process. The Gambia for All also condemned any violence and intimidation aimed at influencing the process and called on perpetrators at all levels to exercise restraint. The Secretary General and leader of the Gambia for All party was addressing a press conference on Thursday. The news conference was organized to articulate Gambia for All's position on the country's crime situation, governance, the economy, politics and germane issues. Describing the current registration process as controversial and messy, Bakri Dabo highlighted some of the variables he believed are responsible for this disorderliness.
Obviously, there is a strongly held suspicion in many quarters that there is an intention to fraud. This is the process. There is a very strongly held view, both by those who openly protested, but even by some who have not protested in the open, but they suspect. Because there are signs which one cannot mistake. Pictures floating, showing what look very much as underage children being admitted at registration sites. That's already a strong sign, particularly against the background of our experience for the past 22 years, when we know that that's one of the forms of fraud that has been going on. Secondly, there is this the whole phenomenon of attestations and the problems it has brought around.
According to the Gambia for All flag bearer, his party had no issues with granting attestation to eligible citizens, but to him, the scale on which attestations are being currently issued could make one smell the rat.
For this reason, yes, one could understand that apart from the law allowing it, that it does appear sensible that you allow another more accessible method of authenticating the Gambian Gambian citizenship or the age of people who may want to claim to be registered, even where they don't have ID cards and passports and birth certificates. So the principle of it was I think was good. Principle is good, and the law also backs it. And we as a party understood. Our attitude is to show understanding for it. But of course, that was on the assumption, and I like to believe that was the intention in it, that it would appear not on such a massive scale, that it gives rise to suspicion that there could be abuse going on.
Bibi Dabo said the issuance of attestation is good in principle, but that the process is vulnerable to abuse unless safeguards are provided. To him, the absence of safeguards regarding attestations is seemingly responsible for the current phenomenon.
And it seems the absence of such safeguards has led to the phenomenon we are witnessing, where the resort to attestations is being done on a massive scale, leading people to suspect that there is a lot of hanky-panky going on. Reports around by none other than credible civil society organizations are suggesting. They even went as far as citing cases. Sarengai in Wuli, somewhere in URD with young underage people. In other parts of the country, that these things are going on, and all of them, the cheap, easy tool is attestation documents produced by these people. Now let's look at it. Who are the actors for producing these attestations? These are mainly local government authorities, whether mayors, alkalulu, and chiefs. Now, sadly,
he described the involvement of traditional rulers in politics as pathetic, despite the coalition government's commitment to keep them out of partisan politics.
Only last week, the president was addressing Al-Kalulu and Seful, and we all listened to him, and he said it quite clearly. He told them, you owe it to belong to a particular party, a particular set of forces. And these are the very people who are supposed to deliver these documents. Obviously, this is a very unsatisfactory situation, and it's an explanation why there is this large turnout of people claiming to register using attestation.
On the consequences of the suspicions of fraud in the general registration exercise, Mr. Dabo said,
there are also, of course, the controversies and the suspicion of fraud has led to incidences of disorderly behavior. Even violence, with some people resorting to antisocial behavior, thuggery, hooliganism. These are all very undesirable, and they all contribute together with this massive suspicious use of attestation to lead to a situation where our confidence and the confidence of many Gambians in the registration process is very much called into question. The process is still on, it's not completed. And we do know that there is provision for revising courts to which one can appeal for some cases. But one is not naive to believe that that will necessarily help to clean up if fraud is perpetrated on a large scale. So we are at a situation where we have serious fears for the credibility of the ultimate outcome of the process going on, precisely because of some of this.
For Star TV News, I am Ano Jang Jalo.
Those were the local stories. The international news will come up after the short break. Stay tuned.
Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gosh, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jaja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulunding. We are also producers of Jaja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. Gosh, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. Gosh Group also provides the best security company, Gash Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. Gash Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact Gash on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at Gash Global Group on Battle Harden Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.gashglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash.
Sophie Milk ñu ngi fété juroom benn ati cafka bu dut dañ ñoo leen indil Jalika full cream milk powder neex saf sàpp te bari cafka pour di leen jërëjëfati si ni ngeen defee Sophie Milk seen favorite milk brand. Léegi mun ngeen a jëfandikoo empty Jalika milk sachets wala carton pour gagner ay xéewal yu riche. Pour gagner motorbike dajaleel fukk ak juróomi empty carton yi Jalika milk. Pour gagner yeneen xéewal yu mel ni PlayStation 4, TV, fridge freezer, gas cooker, bicycle wala mobile phone. dajaleel fukk ak juróomi empty Jalika milk sachets def leen si biir enveloppe binda si sa tur ak sa téléphone number. Mun ngeen ko yóbbu si bépp Jalika milk agent bu leen gën a jege. Pour xam bi si raful yi dem leen Jalika milk Facebook page. Jalika milk mooy meew bu ees bu leen so fi indil gën a neex saf sàpp te riche.
Welcome back, and now the international news. The continuing tension between Iran and the United States is being felt in Iraq. Iran-backed armed groups have intensified operations against the U.S. military and diplomatic facilities. Al Jazeera has gained access to one military base in Anbar province in western Iraq. From there, Al Jazeera's Mohammed Abdel Wahid reports.
Iraqi forces in Ain al-Assad base are on high alert. On Wednesday, a missile attack injured 2 people. The base houses Iraqi army units alongside coalition forces, including U.S. personnel. We traveled with the Iraqi army to al-Baghdadi district about 14 kilometers away. This is where missiles that have targeted the base during the past few months were fired from. We found a missile launcher that had exploded, leaving several houses damaged, including a mosque. Hamza Mish'an was among a number of civilians injured in the blast.
I was looking from the window when the explosion started. A shrapnel hit me in the head. Why is this happening in our area? We are not part of this conflict.
Iraq's Joint Operations Command, which protects the base, is investigating.
The terrorists have been using various ways to reach the base. This time, missiles were hidden under flour sacks. We're now collecting evidence to identify the perpetrators.
Security sources say the missile launcher was blown up by the ammunition it was carrying. The detonation brought on by scorching summer temperatures. But locals tell a different story.
Two missiles came from the base direction. One hit the missile truck, the other hit the garden nearby.
After a U.S. airstrike on the Syria-Iraq border 2 weeks ago, Iranian-backed groups declared open war against the U.S. forces still in Iraq. Washington says Iraq's government wants the U.S. to provide military training for its troops and help in the fight against ISIL. But this continuing conflict between Iran and the U.S. goes further. Indirect talks aimed at salvaging the 2015 nuclear deal abandoned by the previous U.S. administration under Donald Trump are again under threat, and that's not helping Iraq.
The Ain al-Assad base has been under multiple drone and rocket attacks since the killing of Iranian commander Qasem Soleimani in a U.S. airstrike in January last year. Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis, an Iraqi commander of the Popular Mobilization Forces, was also killed. Violence between U.S. forces and Iranian-affiliated armed groups is likely to continue as long as the nuclear issue remains unresolved. Mahmoud Abdul Wahid, Al Jazeera, in Anbar Province, Western Iraq.
Security forces in Haiti have shot dead 4 suspected killers of President Jovenel Moïse and captured 2 others, as the assassination threatens to plunge the Caribbean nation into a deeper crisis. More in this report by Al Jazeera.
Call for the respect of the democratic principles. I urge all the nation stakeholders to help us in the battle for the continuity of the state. This country is hurt. This nation is hurt. The perpetrators will be taken to justice. Let's keep our calm. The situation is under control.
We also don't know whether or not there's going to be any quick resolution to the political situation. The man who is now the interim prime minister, Claude Joseph, was supposed to be stepping aside because Jovenel Moïse had named a new man to take his place. And so even as they're trying to investigate this assassination, there's already a very public fight about who is in charge of the Haitian government.
Imagine we live in this area close to the president. Even when we have problems with the president, we can't imagine they will kill him like this.
Our working hypothesis is that it is a sector of the bourgeoisie, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 combined, who hired these mercenaries to come in and do the job because they are terrified, absolutely. They have the daylight scared out of them by the uprising that's happening in Haiti's vast shanty towns. And they had to get Jovenel out of the way, we think, in order to be able to have the authority of the state to try to tamp down, crush, destroy this uprising which is happening from the shanty towns. An armed uprising, I should say. A revolution.
It has been 10 years since South Sudan gained independence from Sudan to become the world's youngest nation, yet few citizens are rejoicing. The oil-rich country has been marred by fighting that killed nearly 400,000 people and displaced millions. A humanitarian crisis and a fragile peace deal are making it difficult for many to move forward. Al Jazeera's Harun Mutasa reports from Juba, South Sudan.
John Cox says his people voting overwhelmingly to secede from Sudan 10 years ago wasn't a mistake. It's what happened to South Sudan afterwards that broke him. The war in 2013, then another round of fighting in 2016, has left him traumatized.
It was not only 2013, where our colleagues, my brother, will kill it. Even during this struggle, my brothers, they were also killed. So when it repeats itself, it was horrible.
Things are now relatively calm. Unlike previous peace deals that failed, some people hope the unity government set up last year will hold. It saw former rebel leader Riek Machar sworn in as first vice president, along with 4 other vice presidents. President Salva Kiir and Machar are once again trying to work together until elections in 2023. Politicians hope this transitional period encourages refugees and internally displaced people to return to their homes. Thousands of people live here, and this is just one of many camps across South Sudan. There's no running water and not enough food. Many families say they don't know how long they're going to be here, and going home for several of them is not an option because of insecurity in some parts of the country. Add to that floods, droughts, and intercommunal violence. Children born after independence have never known peace. Aid workers say the humanitarian crisis is worsening.
These are some of our greatest concerns. Certainly there's a food insecurity crisis in South Sudan. 1.4 million children are going to be malnourished this year, the highest number in years.
Key parts of the peace agreement are still to be implemented. These include establishing a unified national army made up of opposition and government forces.
The people of South Sudan are telling their leadership that, look, we are tired of war. Nobody wants war anymore. If there are some few political leaders who think that they will go and mobilize some of our citizens so that they cause a fight because they want to be leaders of this country, I don't think they will get the audience from the public.
The new coalition government is trying to rebuild, focusing on various developmental and infrastructure projects. As new buildings go up in some parts of the country, uniting a bitterly divided nation, building trust and making sure it's safe enough for everyone affected by conflict to return home is going to be much more difficult. Harun Mutasa, Al Jazeera, Juba.
And before we end the news, a recap of our main headlines. President Adama Barrow addresses nation as impact assessment of deadly windstorm continues. President Barrow strengthens NDMA's response capacity after Wednesday's destructive storm. Windstorm-induced loss of lives and properties saddens NPP. Gambia National Media and Policy Forum 2021 launch. GFF expresses fear over integrity of voter registration. On the international scene, rockets fired at U.S. Embassy in Iraq after a series of attacks. Haiti's President Jovenel Moïse assassinated, police kills 4 suspects. South Sudan celebrates 10 years of independence, but few rejoice. That's all for this edition of the news. Join us tomorrow for more news. Please stay tuned and enjoy the rest of our programs. Thanks for watching and bye for now.